Hello lovely people and welcome back to theSeoulChic TV. I hope you've been enjoying the series so far. And today we have with us a beautiful young lady from India via Canada, Abu Dhabi, and all the other countries in between, and now Korea. And so I hope you enjoy this conversation as well. Alright everyone, meet Anzette.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming.
My
and
pleasure.
we will dive right straight into it. So you were in South Korea, you've been here for a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Okay, so what brought you here?
I first decided that it was going to be a gap year because I didn't do that in university, and everybody was like, oh, you should take a year between high school and university, and I did not have that opportunity. Thanks, Dad. So I thought I would just take a year for myself and do something completely different than what I started out to do in my career, and kind of discover what I actually wanted to do. I think a lot of times you have an idea of what you think is the right thing to do and the right way to be, because there's this construct of, social construct of you have to go to college and you have to have a 9-to-5 job and things like that. And I was like, I need to step away. I need to step away and figure out what I really want to do, what I really like. And Korea has done that for me. I think Korea has been a great experience in that way. I didn't realize I liked kids as much.
So you're actually enjoying the job?
I really genuinely enjoy the job. I don't think it's work at all. Prospective teachers always ask me, what's the workload like and what's the prep time? I'm like, I don't know. I'm the worst person to ask because for me it's zero. I go to work and it just doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to paint this beautiful scenery of it. It is a job that it has its moments that are frustrating, but I think in general for me it's just been a breeze. It's been a wonderful experience. I initially only came for 1 year. I'm going on my second. I might extend for another 6 months after that.
You're one of those, huh?
I
think everybody comes for a year, 6 months to a year, and then you end up staying here for I've been here almost 4 years now.
There you go.
And I only came for a gap year, so I guess this is going to be my life.
Out the same. I know people that have been here for 10 years.
Oh wow.
They came for a gap year.
I know someone who's been here for 20 years.
See, I mean,
pretty much as a Korean citizen.
Might as well.
But I mean, it's peaceful. It's not to love about it. There's stuff.
There's
stuff. That's another video.
That's a whole other hour.
Or other channels can handle that, right?
That's
all
true.
right. Good. So, has there been any cool experiences whilst living here? You can share.
Korea is great because I've gotten to travel in so many different places from just being in Korea, and I think the greatest part about being in Korea is you meet people that you would have never crossed paths with otherwise, because there's people from so many different countries, especially the expat community in Korea, because it's not a really big community. It's quite small, and we kind of convene in very specific places in Korea, which is nice which is nice because then you get to meet so many people. I mean, I've met people that I would never cross paths with. I mean, even you, I don't think we would ever meet if we weren't in Korea.
I mean, definitely not.
Right. I mean, we live on opposite sides of the world. And also with some of the best friends I've had here. I think I came into this very blind. I thought it was going to be a year. I was going to meet some cool people, and I was going to travel,
get married,
find myself, not get married. Let's not put that out there. My dad would get too excited. He'd be jumping up and down for that. But the greatest part about it is that I met people that I will definitely know for a lifetime. And that is one of the most wonderful things for me to take away from Korea. One of my friends says in a funny way, she's like, I have more people to invite to my wedding. And I think that's the sentiment, right? You meet people that you would never meet otherwise, and age is definitely not a factor because they're younger than you,
You're all
much
going
older
through the
than
same
you,
experiences
and that's wonderful because it bonds you in an amazing way. And not having your family, and little things like I miss Cheetos or I miss, just little things like that bonds you, and then you go through this experience together, and then you suddenly have a new sister that you never thought you were gonna have, and I think that's amazing. little things like on Friday we just sat at one of my friend's house and drank wine and watched Grace and Frankie. Like, we're like old
That's
ladies.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's like in our pajamas, just sitting, eating popcorn, drinking wine, and watching Grace and Frankie on a tiny laptop computer because none of us have TVs.
Yeah.
So
I don't have one either.
And
you don't need it.
Yeah, you don't need it anymore. That's true.
Especially if you don't speak Korean, it's like, what's the point?
Well, I mean, if you want to learn Korean, it's a great way to do that.
Yeah, I will not be watching TV to learn Korean for any reason. Alright, good. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, right now, let's dig in. Okay. So, what is one struggle that you think you've been dealing with as a young adult, a young woman, as a person, okay, that you would like to share with us?
One big struggle that I've had is dealing with self-doubt, which stems from a lot of things, but I think the main thing is that I've not done what the traditional thing for me to do is, especially in my family. They're definitely not the kind of family that pushes you to do anything. But you kind of in the back of your mind, you're like, well, everybody else is, going in that straight path and getting that degree and getting that 9-to-5 job and doing those things. And I always am like, should I be doing that? Should I get married? Should I start having children? Should I, go back to being in marketing? Should I do what's expected of me in a way? And it's a daily struggle. It's definitely not something that you get, you're like, oh, I found the formula, I'm done. I deal with that constantly all the time. Some days are better than others. But yeah, that's one of the biggest struggles that I've had. And then there's, this whole thing about sexual harassment in the media. That's been a big part of my life as well, growing up and dealing with that as a woman of color. That definitely shapes the way you see the world. Unfortunately for me, that has given me a lot of trust issues, and I say like guilty until proven innocent, which is a sad way to live. My mom was like, you can't always suspect everybody, but it's a byproduct of experience, right? So you have to work through it. I am much better than I was before. I think before I would just walk around and I was like, oh, you, everybody.
Trying to pick them out.
I was like, every man is a. But now it's I've grown a lot more. I've learned a lot more about myself, and sort of kind of shutting those negative voices down and telling myself that it's, I need to get to know people before I judge them immediately on past experiences, because of experiences that I've had before. It's definitely a struggle, and I think that the only way to get by it is to surround yourself with people that support you, talking about it. I can never, that's the best prescription that I've ever gotten, is just talk about it. If it's bothering you, talk about it. If it's an issue, talk about it. I cannot stress that enough. This whole idea of like stewing about something. My sister's like that. Abigail, don't do that. Just like sitting and like being mad. And men say that about women all the time. They're like, are you mad about something? And you're like, no, I'm not. And then like five years later, you're like, that thing you did really bothered me. I can't do that anymore. I just if something bothers me, I just let it out. And I think that's the best thing to do. It's just because why? You're hurting yourself. It's pointless.
Yeah. So would you say that with those experiences from your past, that they've kind of affected you and how you work, in your job choices? And everything?
I mean, I think, I never started out wanting to be a teacher. This was never a part of the plan. But yeah, especially working around kids, that's a big thing. I observe a lot more keenly than I don't know the average person would. I'm like, and sometimes I try to tell myself, a hug is just a hug. A pat on the shoulder is just a pat on the shoulder. But when you've had those experiences, you read too much into things sometimes, because you can't help yourself.
Like a man smiles at you and you're just like, why are you smiling?
Right, or especially in my line of work, if I see a man that's not related to it, hugging a kid, male or female, I'm like, well, why are you doing that? Why did you do that? And then I'm like, I need to step back and save myself from myself and say, you know, a hug is just a hug. Like sometimes I need to remind myself that. It's gotten a lot better. I think being surrounded by kids and that kind of positivity really has made me let go of a lot of things. So that's been good.
So in a way, this job has also kind of been a type of healing.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely been healing. The Korea in general, the whole experience in Korea. And I've said that I've never been sexually harassed in Korea, which I was warned about. I was told, like, you know, be careful about certain things. And I've had friends. I recently just had a friend who told me about how she had a flasher at a subway stop in Mexico.
Oh wow!
It happened 2 days ago.
Oh really?
Yeah, it happened 2 days ago.
Wow!
And I can genuinely say, never say never, but it's never not happened to me yet in Korea, and that's been.
We hope it never does.
Well, sure, but it's a wonderful way to live because I'm like, I just carefree. Walk down
so you don't
the street.
have those fears that you had.
Not well, because I lived in Abu Dhabi for 2 years.
Yeah.
I worked there for 2 years before I came to Korea, and that was definitely a constant thing for me. I also walked around freely. You know, I don't let that bother me, but it always happened. The catcalling, I told you the flashing of the money outside the car thing, which is bizarre. You know, just. And it doesn't matter what you're wearing because you know apparently that's not a thing.
Yeah, you're a woman.
It's you're just female. So so when I came to Korea, I was very apprehensive about those things happening, but it hasn't, thank God, not happened to me here at all. But you know, it happens to everybody here. I've heard.
And I don't know how it affected me. When I lived in Chicago, I was grabbed by people at the substation a few times, you know.
Wow.
And that really affected how I walked around. I wasn't as free anymore, and it actually made me yearn to coming back to Korea since I didn't experience that in Korea in any way. And so whenever I was walking around Chicago, especially alone, I was like tucked in.
Right.
You know, I was just afraid to be like just to give any man any idea that I'm a woman. I don't know.
There's a beautiful scene in this Netflix series called Master of None, which is done by Aziz Ansari, and it's a scene where, you know, there's a bunch of friends that are at a bar, they're drinking, it's a weekend, and then they're going home, and it's like a comparison of when one of his friends who's a female is walking home, and then him and his friend are walking home together. There's two guys, and just the different choices that female and male make. So like she's looking over her shoulder the entire time. She's like wearing her jacket really close to her. Her purse is like on her chest, and she's walking. If there's a guy walking, you know, on the same street as her, she crosses the road. And then you see the male experience, and these guys are just. Should we cut through the dark park that has no street lamps? And like, why not? Let's do that. And then it's just so carefree, just walking. And that was such a beautiful scene. I was watching it, and it was like Oprah says, aha moment. I was like, oh my God, this is it. I was like, every male needs to watch this. Every man needs to watch this and realize this is what women go through.
And they'll probably see a different message.
Well,
though, you know, that will probably not cope.
I definitely think the intention of that was to show how women, you know, have to constantly walk through the world. You're constantly looking over your shoulder.
It happened to me 2 days ago in Itaewon. I was going to the bank, and I got out of the taxi and crossed the road. A guy, you know, we made eye contact, and I quickly, you know, turned my face the other way, and then he started walking behind me. I entered the bank, he entered right behind me. I got in line, he got into the same line. I made a mistake on another line, he came there as well, and then they told me I had to go upstairs. He also came out and got into the elevator with me, and I was literally panicking. And so I texted, someone was like, I think a guy is following me and I don't know what to do, And so I just started thinking, what do I need to do? I pulled my purse to the front, part of me, and then I was just like standing there hoping someone will come. And then immediately another woman walked onto the elevator, and I just felt this sense of relief. I was just like, and I calmed down, but I was still scared of getting out of the bank and walking out. And him following me, and stuff. So I was thinking, what do I need to do? How can I lose him? So I told the clerk, please hurry up. As soon as I saw him go to another clerk, I was like, please finish up. Yeah, and then right when they were done,
you're like,
I was trying to steal something. I just quickly grabbed my things and I ran to the elevator. And I'm like, let's go quickly.
See, men don't go through this. Can you imagine? You're going to the bank, and you feel like you're being.
And I was shocked. Once, and even when I got out, instead of standing around for the next bus or to cross I took the next taxi that I saw to go, and I just had this, deep breath, just like, oh my gosh. After that, and then I walked away, and I was just thinking, why do I feel that way? But it's because of the past experiences of constantly being grabbed, constantly being treated that way. And so I think it's really important with that.
Yeah. That happened to me actually when I was working before. A colleague of mine sexually harassed me. He, so I didn't drive when I was working in Abu Dhabi, and so a lot of my colleagues would drive me home, male or female, and then one day he was like, oh, I'll drop you home. I was like, oh, that's so sweet, thank you. And he was driving me, and he's married, and he started holding my hand, and I was like, all right, this is no. And he was like trying to convince me to have an affair with him.
Oh, wow.
And I kept looking at him, I was like, in what universe do you think that this is appropriate to talk to someone that
when you're married,
that's also your colleague? I was very taken aback, and I told him I was like, you need to stop the car right now, because I need to get out of this car. I was like, this situation, and it was completely out of my control because I'm not driving. He's in, we're in the car. He could have locked me in. It was very scary. It was really scary.
Scared,
I felt suffocated. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what the right thing was to do either. Because I was going to see this person again, right?
At work.
And so he stopped the car because he could sense that I was very distressed, and he stopped the car. I got out of the car and I took a taxi. I went home, and I texted him and I said, don't ever do this again. Because if you do this again, I will say something, and it will be an issue. And I remember the next day at work, I told him, don't talk to me about anything else except for work. And it was hard. I had to work for them for the next year after that. And I regret not saying anything, but this is the thing about being a woman. You're always told to be hush.
That wasn't nothing.
You didn't actually get assaulted, right? It's like, well, he didn't actually do anything to you, but he made me feel uncomfortable. He made me feel distressed, and that's in itself is assault. But again, see, I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything.
I mean,
that really bothers me.
Who would you say it
well,
to?
I could have gotten fired. I didn't. I was like,
but then you'll be the bad woman.
Right. In my head, I was like,
fired,
oh, but he's so much senior than me. His position is so much senior than he's married. And I was like, why were you giving excuses to this person? He's a horrible person.
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, he could do it to the next person, right? And I always regret that. After I left that job, I always regret not saying anything because I was like, well, what about the next person that comes after me? What about that next
who may not
girl?
be able to have the confidence,
right? And who also is like not as because I'm loud.
Yeah.
I was like screaming in the car. I was like, stop the car right now. I said it really loudly, and that startled him, I think. But the next person couldn't be that loud or abrasive that I was. I was like holding on to the door. I was like, let me out. But I don't know, that I regret that for sure. But now the minute if anybody says anything, I'm like the first person in line. I'm like, he did that.
So going back to your original experiences, which are, I believe, much deeper than just on the street catcalling and stuff like that. What were some things that you did to help you overcome that? I know you mentioned talking about it, but what are some other things that a young woman or man who might be going through that can do to help them overcome, the aftermath of the situations?
One thing that really helped me, and this is a testament to Canada, I love Canada. So in universities, there's free therapy, free medicine. So I went and talked to someone, and that really helped me. I was, having these nightmares about experiences, and I decided that this was the time that I needed to talk to somebody about what had happened to me, and so I went in and I went to therapy. That really helped me a lot, not only with dealing with what I was going through at that time, but it also helped me understand myself, why you do the things you do, why do you approach the situation this way. It's because of X, Y, and Z, and I think that was a really great thing for me to do. And then also kind of throwing myself into things. I started joining clubs, and I love to dance, so I was dancing, and that really helped. It was like a very healing process. I think you have to pick things that make you happy. So that really helped me. And then deciding that I needed to do things for myself and not other people. That was a huge thing for me, to decide that you cannot please everybody. And
please elaborate.
You can't please everybody 100%. And so the greatest thing I learned was to say that that's okay. If I please my parents and my sister and my dog, but he's always happy, then it's fine. I can walk through the world knowing that I'm okay. And I think that everyone, especially women, need to learn that you have to look out for yourself. Not selfishly by damaging other people, but you have to know that you only have yourself, and you have yourself to answer to, and if you can't look at yourself in the mirror, then everything was pointless. Everything you did was not worth it, right? So I think for me, realizing that even the decision to come to Korea, it definitely wasn't a decision that anybody understood in my family. They were like, you have a good job, you're doing so well, you're in that path. I was like, I want to be a CEO by the time I'm 35. When you go to business school, that kind of that's a weird thing that everybody thinks that there's 200 people in business school, but everyone thinks they're going to be a CEO. So I was one of those girls, and I realized I wasn't happy. I wasn't being fulfilled, and when I said I wanted to go to Korea, everyone was like, where is Korea? First of all, they were like, what is Korea? Where is Korea? But then I was like, no, I need to do this for myself. I want to do this for myself, and
it's okay if your pay is not the same.
Oh,
it's much lower, like 10 times lower, right? But I don't know what, you get a certain fulfillment when you make the decision for yourself.
Definitely.
And to do something for yourself.
Yeah.
That you really don't get trying to fulfill another person's dream.
Exactly.
And so I think that is a big part of woman care or self-care for anybody.
For anybody, yeah.
To be able to make decisions for yourself and do things because you have thought about it or not thought about it, but you did it. So when the consequences come, you're not blaming your mother or your father.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you were dealing with it as a person.
Okay.
And I know we weren't able to get in depth, but that's okay. There are stages for everything. What is a message that you want to share with our viewers, the adults, the young ones, male, female, who may be watching, who maybe in the same situation, or even wondering what to do if they ever, hopefully not, get in a situation like that? What can they do for themselves to get out of that hole of the aftermath of the situation, stuff like that?
Anyone going through that situation, I would love to say, speak up. I think that's the first thing to do. I never did, and it was a thing that I carried with me for a long time. And for other people that hear someone saying that, support. And don't doubt. That was a really hard thing when people were like, are you sure that happened to you? Are you sure? That's the hardest thing for a victim to hear, because when they hear that, you start to self-doubt. You immediately go, do I remember it right? Did that happen? And when someone comes to you and says, this happened to me, listen and support. And that's the one thing I want, from a woman's perspective, I would like women in Korea to, especially expat women, because it's not a lot of us here, just to hold each other up, just support each other. When I see someone else being successful,
women everywhere,
I feel so proud. I'm so happy when another colleague or friend or acquaintance is doing well in their life. There's moments of like, oh, I wish I could do that, but that's motivation for me. That's not jealousy and envy. It's motivation. I was like, yeah, I want to be there. Let me work as hard as she worked. And I think that's the thing to learn is if you're in a small community that we're in, just support each other, hold each other up. Don't dwell on petty things, little things like you stole my this and you did my whatever. It's pointless, and in the grand scheme of things, it means nothing. The effect you have on someone else's life by being positive is so much more than you being a negative force. Yeah, I mean, what's the point? What does it do to you? You put someone else down, you're not going to get that from them though. You're not going to get their success if you put them down. What's the point? You should just work for your own success. And that's probably the biggest lesson I would like. I'm still learning it, but everyone should work towards that.
Well, thank you so much, Anzette, for coming. And I hope you ladies or gentlemen watching really enjoyed this conversation. I know this is like the second time we've talked about this issue or sexual harassment and things like that, but we're doing it because it's important and because it's a real issue and it's very common. It's like the number of people who go through that is incredible to me, and I think everybody needs to come together to share their stories or to help each other deal with the situations they've been through, and also to teach the young people coming up on how to deal with it so they don't go through that situation, and God forbid if they are going through that situation, to voice it now so that they can get help now and it could stop sooner than later. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please do leave us a message in the comments below. Send me a message if you want to share your story. We will be starting a Tips Tuesday or Thursday, haven't decided yet, where I share the tips on dealing with these situations that you have experienced and sent me via video with people. Also, subscribe, like, and share, and I hope to see you next week. Oh, it's awkward.
Thank you so much. So good.